believe in the paranormal?
And Wes and I were, we were touching, and we went and we put our hands on her to start praying, and it was like, whoa, she's gone. She's on the other side of the parking lot. Like, literally, like, for lack of a better word, what the hell just happened? Like, whatever this was from the pits of hell.
Are you on a constant quest to find cryptids?
And all three of them were merging on the car. And I looked over and I looked up, and it was kind of looking down at us. And it reminded me of a monkey. It got down like it was going to charge us. It was so big, I felt like it could have grabbed the side of the car and flipped it over.
Is your mind swirling with weird conspiracy theories?
Throughout the summer of 2001, we knew about the 9/11 attack. We absolutely knew about it, and we talked about it all the time.
Your family might think you're crazy, but we have good news for you. You're not alone. The Confessionals is a podcast where witnesses of the unexplained share their personal encounter stories. From UFOs and Bigfoot to hauntings, demons, and conspiracies. Come join us every Tuesday for a mysterious and creepy new episode. You can find The Confessionals on your favorite podcast player and on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm your host, Tony Merkel. Let's go.
Give him a whiff.
Oh, you got some kangaroo balls from Natasha Ali. She's from Australia. This is the delicious Nickalicious.
And it is Rob Diggity Dangle Dog over here. We are 2 hours in, and we're just now starting the fucking episode.
That's how it works.
It's going to be a juicy one today.
If you've never listened to the Brohio podcast before, there was a dark period in the timeline of Earth. There were no heroes, and then two 30-something-year-old dads said we're gonna make a podcast. We came together. We started the Brohio podcast and brought the light back to the world. There was darkness. There was children dying. There was malnourishment all around the world. People were sick.
It's crazy, man.
And then Rob and I started making this podcast, and everything's better now. We got the Space Force. There's an American.
Aliens are real.
Aliens are real. There's an American president that took 20 steps into North Korea with Kim Jong-un, who, might I remind you, is fat and probably going to die soon. I saw him. He looks disgusting.
This is the week of our nation's independence. This is a fucking fantastic good time.
It is.
And I think we're responsible for that, too. So,
Rob and I, ourselves.
Stranger Things comes out in 3 days. Can't fucking wait. Man, it's going to be a good week.
Cool thing about the 4th of July. You can get yourself an ice cold Zima.
Yep.
Just like the early days of the Brohio podcast.
Drop a couple Jolly Ranchers in that bad dude.
Then you're going to want to pop the top. Put it in your ass. You're going to want to butt chug that Zima.
Yep, do a handstand.
In the spirit of our first episode, let's all butt chug a Zima this 4th of July.
For your nation's independence.
If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back to the first episode and learn about butt chugging Zima. We're very happy to be here with you guys. We have a fantastic interview planned.
Whew.
I hope it goes okay. We actually already did it. It goes pretty fucking cool. This episode's called The Cannibal Cop. We're talking about Gil Valle. That's not a place. That's a man. Gil Valle. He's not a porn star. He might be a porn star.
That does sound like a porn star name, though.
It does. He is the center, the subject of this whole entire episode.
This is one of our second interview that our whole we actually talked to the person that's the episode's about.
Right, and he does a fantastic job with us. He was an open book, flew his freak flag high and prideful, that's what I recommend anyone to do. Whatever your kink is, don't be, do what you do.
It can always be worse.
Yeah, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, we'd like to thank our new Patreon subscribers.
Yeah.
Starting with Ryan Lance. Ryan, thank you so much.
Rob Wittenberg, thank you, sir.
Anyone if he's any relation to old Rob Diggity Dingle Dog.
Nah, he's got a way more fancier name.
Yeah, he's got
Wittenberg.
He's got a very beautiful beard, too.
He hangs out with Dan Brown, I could tell.
Brennan Heath. Thank you, Mr. Heath.
Luke. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Next, we got David Garcia. Mr. Garcia, thank you so much for the Patreon pledge, and thank you for the... Never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to talk about what we got in our P.O. box.
All right. Andrew Gash. All right.
Gash is a very derogatory term for vagina.
Yes, it
because
is.
some people think vaginas look like hatchet wounds. I don't think that's true. I think vaginas are absolutely... I haven't seen a vagina besides my wife's in a very long time, and I can speak about that vagina. It's wonderful. But vaginas are wonderful.
Very much
But
so.
so are men's assholes.
We don't discriminate.
I was holding my kitty cat earlier, and my left eye is watering very badly, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's pretty bad right now.
I
It's
might be
so
getting
red.
allergic. I'm there. I'm allergic. We're getting rid of all of
Made
them.
some kangaroo balls, man.
That could have been
I should have put them so far in my ass.
pink eye. Here it
You
goes.
got pink eye from kangaroo balls.
Next, we got Tara Doble. Thank you, Tara Doble. Her fucking profile picture is this cat just fucking licking its lips at me.
Oh, good times. Rebecca Lauderdale, thank you very much.
Lucas, how about you lick these lemons? Thank you, Lucas, for your Patreon pledge.
Lisa Marie Evans, thank you.
Jonathan Matthews. Thank you, Jonathan, for your Patreon pledge.
Camargosaurus.
That's a Camarogosaurus. That's a real fast dinosaur that named after a fucking Camaro, man.
Hell yeah.
Oh, next up we have Dave Ponce. Thank you, Dave Ponce. There was another one in here. Is it gone?
Right here? No, it's right there.
What's it say?
Oh, God. I don't know. My thing just disappeared.
Dylan Belcher.
That was weird.
Thank you, Dylan Belcher, for your generous pledge.
Thank you.
If you would like to join the Bros of Brohio on Patreon, go to patreon.com/Brohio Podcast. We have live shows coming up in October in West Virginia.
Plenty of time to get those tickets.
Plenty of time. This article, I was not going to do an article this week because I couldn't
Right.
really find anything to tickle my pickle very much.
Fuck it, we could have made something up.
We could have.
We're gonna do that one time. We're not gonna say that it's made up. We're just gonna let you guys figure that
You're
out
going to
yourselves.
go to the water cooler the next day and you say, I heard this guy in Ohio, it's on a podcast I listened to. Listen to this story, bro. I'm going to tell you about it. This one says, a man allegedly placed a homemade bomb behind a Pennsylvania hotel on Sunday and claimed it was a warning that aliens will destroy the planet if humans didn't, quote, start being good people, police said.
I can't say I hate the message.
It's definitely a powerful message. We hear this guy's last name, David Oxenrider.
That is that's a Viking
It
name.
is a Viking name, dude. 29 years old, was taken into custody by state troopers after they responded to the scene at Bonnet House in Myerstown, a city roughly 25 miles north of Lancaster, wherever the fuck
that is. Right?
where he reportedly lives. Oxenrider allegedly told the hotel manager that he made an explosive device and was keeping it in his room. Hey, I just want to let you know, I don't want house cleaning in my fucking room today because I got a bomb in there. And if they do go in, tell them to leave the rag on the bed. I like that rag. The manager told him to remove it from the building. Oh, okay, you're going to need to get that the fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
we're gonna need you to get rid of those explosives.
And Oxenrider allegedly placed it next to the dumpster outside. He said, all right, dude.
I got it, man.
I will get rid of it. Jesus Christ. State police bomb squad disabled the package. And no one was injured in the incident. Bomb found in the... Okay, that's... okay. I don't know what the fuck happened there.
Okay.
Oxenrider told investigators he encountered aliens in a UFO in 2014.
Lucky bastard.
Claimed the aliens told him, quote, humans need to start being good people or else they are going to destroy the Earth with a nuclear laser beam. Where do you get one of those at?
Right. eBay.
For sure. Wish.com if you want it the next fucking 2 years.
Yeah.
The 29-year-old, according to a criminal complaint, says he tells people about the aliens, but people tell him he's crazy in return, so he allegedly created the bomb to warn authorities. This goes hand in hand with the alien stuff we talked about last week, man.
Yeah.
They're coming. They're coming.
They're definitely coming.
This guy, Oxenrider, he's on to something. Get it? Oxenrider, he's on to something?
Hey.
He's on something. Oxenrider's charged with manufacturing a weapon of mass destruction. Jesus, God, man. Poor dude. Causing or risking a catastrophe and reckless endangerment, and he's awaiting arraignment. I'm going to bail him out. That's what's going to happen right there. That's what's going on with old Oxenrider. Oh, Rob, how's your week going, buddy?
Fucking horrible.
That's good.
Yeah, we had what is this? The fourth 90-degree plus weather
It's bad,
day.
man.
It's pretty stupid. Our AC decided to shit out the first day. So yeah, $1,600 later, here we are.
How awesome is that?
Fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are covering the Cannibal Cop This is an interesting story.
Very misleading name, by the way.
No one got eaten.
Nobody got eaten. He was a cop.
He was a cop.
I guess that part's true.
I think he thought about eating some people.
Yeah.
But he didn't eat anybody.
We'll get into more of that.
This is a story of when the lines between reality and fantasy are blurred beyond what we can actually see. This is, it goes along with the First Amendment shit.
Mm-hmm.
What is okay and what is not okay. If you say, for instance, your brother or sister's getting on your nerves, you say, you do that one more time, I'm going to fuck you up, bro. And you get arrested for saying, I'm going to fuck you up, bro. Is that right? No, I don't think that's right. Were you really going to fuck him up? Probably.
But did you?
No. Let's talk about it.
Because just like we talked with Christy, I mean, we all think horrible fucking things.
That's right.
And I'm sure some people have said some of those fucking horrible things out loud, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do it.
Like Rob just said, this is a Patreon-sponsored episode. Sponsored by Christian. She's been a faithful Brahio listener for a long time. Next on our Patreon list is Wyatt Rucker, and then I think it's something more, Michael or Matt Moore he's from around here. So
okay,
we'll get to you guys.
We're working on it.
We're chugging wood, or we're chopping wood. We'll chug your wood, all right.
We're fucking wood.
Yeah, we got all kinds of. We're gonna have to save it for the next episode because this one's gonna be so long. We got a lot of climax emails. People.
Oh yes,
people sending us climaxes.
Keep sending those in.
Yeah, if you want to send us preferably really strange sounds of you reaching climax, we'll play them on our episodes.
Preferably while you're in the act.
I think one might have been.
Okay.
I think I can't remember. Yeah, send those climaxes to brohiopodcast@gmail.com.
God, we're so fucking weird.
If you prefer to just send a video of you shoving your nuts up your ass, you can send that to our Snapchat, which Rob runs at brohiopodcast.
Make it juicy.
He'd love to see a video of the biggest, dangliest nut sacks being shoved up your asses ever. Just anything nasty you want to send. Send it to him. He'd be really cool about it. He's not going to judge you.
No. If I screenshot it, though, it's not gay, so don't.
As long as you have your socks on. Isn't that right? Welcome, Brohio Nation. Now, this episode's about Gilberto Valle, or as he much vehemently prefers,
Gil
Valle. We do an interview with him at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
The subject of the entire episode, we got him on the horn for close to an hour. He was born April 14th of 1984 in Queens, New York, which is where he still resides in New York, I do believe. But like most children, he hoped to one day become a police officer. After graduating from high school, he moved on to major in psychology at the University of Maryland, which I do believe is in Maryland?
You would think.
Maryland? Yeah. That's the Turpins. They're fucking turtles. How intimidating is that?
Huh. Well,
giant goddamn turtle.
Yeah, we're named after a fucking seed.
A nut in a tree.
A nut, yeah. That's even worse.
I'm fucking Becky.
They could probably eat us. So,
where Rob and I went to high school, we were polar bears. I think.
That's fucking terrifying.
I think that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, or like the Bengals, like that's terrifying too.
It's really scary, dude.
Yeah. Did you see that video where that guy was driving this motorcycle and a fucking tiger chased him?
Yeah,
that was scary.
You see the video from Russia this week of this the guy they pulled out of the cave that had been. He was pulled to the back of the cave and stored as food by the bear, and they found this guy. They put the camera on him, and he's skin and bones. He looks like he's been dead for 2 months. And they get the camera up to his face, and he opens his eyes like, I don't want to eat the bodies, Bob. I don't know what he's saying, but he's all crusty. His lips are white. He looks like a white dog turd, and he's just like, oh, Lila Shala. He's alive. I mean, I don't know how.
What the fuck?
He looks like he's a bag of bones, man. I guess the bear took him to the back of the cave and stored him as food for hibernation or whatever, and they finally found him.
He's just like human beef jerky back there.
Yeah, you can't tell the language they speak, and I mean, I think it's Russian, but if that was an American, he'd be saying, oh, goddamn, I need a...
Only a Russian would survive in the back of a fucking bear cave.
I need a Bud Light.
I would have died after 20 minutes of being back there.
It's the 4th of July. I need a Budweiser. I need a Bud Heavy. God damn it. Oh, after old Gil, our friend Gil, after graduating from U of M in 2006, He fulfilled his childhood dream and was hired by the New York Police Department,
Huge
NYPD.
department. Huge
department. Yeah. And he was assigned to the Morningside Heights area of Manhattan. So at this point in his life, things are going pretty good. And he speaks about this in the interview. His parents did split up, but he didn't have a weird childhood. He was into sports. He said he was popular. He said his mom was a typical Bronx lady, super loving woman. He had 2 brothers. It's a really normal guy. Nothing, he was into some weird stuff. We're going to get into that.
We all are.
If you had any fucking clue, dude. But, he graduated from college. He landed a job with the biggest police department in the world, joining over 40,000 sworn police officers.
That is so many.
I had to look that up.
That's crazy.
I said, I didn't type in staff. What's the staff amount? I Googled biggest fucking police department in the world. NYPD popped up first. 40,000 sworn officers.
Man,
that's bigger than Ohio.
It's job security too.
It's not, but still, it makes it sound a lot more dramatic, theatric.
40,000. That's a lot.
He starts to do a little browsing on OkCupid. And OkCupid was a big thing in 05, 06, 07. I was using OkCupid. I had, on OkCupid, I had a picture of me just like all fat with a bowl cut, just like, what are you into? I'm into Abercrombie. What the fuck I put? And then one day, my roommate shaved my head. Roy. He's like, I cut your hair, bro. And he shaves my head, and we put a picture of me playing a guitar left-handed, which I'm right. I do play guitar.
Yeah.
But we put a picture of me playing it left-handed with a shaved head. And I put, for my interest...
That's so hard to do.
I wasn't playing it. I was holding it for the picture.
I've tried it before on a left-handed guitar, and it's horrible.
And we put, for interest, Justin Timberlake. That's all we put. My fucking messages just started exploding, man. There were guys, there were girls, there were guy girls. There was all kinds of wicked stuff popping up.
Lucky.
Yeah. But then I met my lovely wife. Didn't get to take advantage of OkCupid like I wanted to.
And that profile was destroyed.
Yeah. Luckily, I lived through all of it. So he meets his wife, Kathleen Maggot? I don't know. It's a fancy last name. But they meet in 2010. They go on to have a little girl. They get married, and they have a little girl in 2012. That's the saddest part about this story. Ever since all this went down, what we're going to get into later in the story, he hasn't seen his daughter, which I think would just be an awful thing to go through.
Right.
But we'll get there. But 2012, the year he has his daughter, that would go on to be a very, very busy year for Mr. Valle.
to say the least.
Now, Gil, like we just said, sorry I got a little sniff going on right here.
Oh man, sniff away. I'm constantly coughing away like a fucking idiot the entire time.
All of a sudden over here.
Every time, man.
Gil was into some different stuff as far as what turned him on. Okay? And we talk about some really taboo stuff on this fucking podcast. There's so many different things. I saw a video one time, okay? This guy had a flat board. He cut a hole in the board, and then he laid the board across the top of him, and he pulled his dick and balls out of the board. So it just looked like a floor with a dick and balls hanging out of it.
Okay.
Then this chick in stilettos gets up on the board like it's a dance floor and just repeatedly steps on his dick and balls with stiletto heels. Like the spiked stilettos.
Uh-huh.
And just repeatedly stomps on this guy's. If you want to check it out, it's efuck.com. That's FUKT. All kinds of fucking cool videos on there. She just keeps on stepping on this wiener until the wiener starts bleeding.
Ugh.
And it's the most terrifying thing. And the whole entire time he's going, oh, fuck yeah, oh. And I'm like, brah, you're getting your wiener stabbed out. Come up for air. It doesn't feel good. There's no way it feels good. But the entire time, this old fucking used car salesman's laying there on his back. He's like, oh. It's not worth it, dude.
Let's not forget about this, too.
Okay. Yes.
Don't have to say anything now, but we eventually.
Okay, I will get there.
Okay.
Promise I'll get there. Hopefully she listens to this episode.
I know.
So this question, these weird kinks, I was thinking...
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll get there, Rob Dog. There's a lot of weird stuff out there. So it made me look. I Googled what's the weirdest fetishes that people have.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more stuff out there than I thought there was. There's Melissophilia, which is when you're turned on.
You only get turned on by Melissas?
Girl's name? No. Melissophilia is the only thing that gets you aroused is bees and wasps. I just killed about 50 of them fuckers out before.
How horny were you?
Yeah. There's psychrophilia, which is when you're aroused by the cold or watching others freeze.
Okay.
No. Nasolingus. That's when you're aroused by sucking on another person's nose. And let me tell you right now, if you sucked on my nose right now, you get some fucking green slime and Rice Krispies. That's all you get. 'Cause I'm messed up right now.
Ooh, God, look at this one.
And there's Cellus familia. If you stutter, there's someone out there for you. These are people that are into people that stutter. So whenever I knew about this, and back in the day when I would meet chicks, they would say, "Hey, how are you?" And I would be like, how much does a polar bear weigh?" And they would say, "Oh, how much?" And I would say, "Enough to break the ice. Hi, I'm Nick."
So stupid.
And they're like, "Why are you fucking stuttering so bad?" I'm like, "Okay, you're not into that.
You're not into it.
We'll try.
Let's move on to the next
one. This is the real me.
How you feel about bees?
Yeah. What's the difference between jam and jelly? I don't know. I can't jelly this dick up your ass. That's what we'd say. What's some other ones here? Catoptrophonelia. Oh my God, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like catoptronophilia. This says if you ever see a mirror over the bed, over the bead, but I think it's bed, chances are the person is all about having sex in front of mirrors. That's not too big of a deal. I don't find that one weird.
That's not weird at all.
Nah, I like to watch myself fuck. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Look how bad it is.
Yeah, exactly. Look how fucking horrible and depressing I look.
Yeah, and then formicophilia. Formicophilia. It's where you're attracted to insects. I guess you're turned on by insects.
Yeah, man. Ugh, God,
dude, I didn't even know this stuff was a thing.
Fucking a pile of bed bugs.
This is my favorite one. Climacophilia. It's where you like to watch people fall down steps, or you like it when you fall down steps.
This hurts so good.
I don't know why. I would get naked before I did it. I remember I was drunk one time at my last house, and there's hardwood steps there, and feet completely went out from underneath me, and I fell down the steps, and the first thing that hit was not my ass. It was my sack, and then my ass crashing down on my sack on the steps, and I thought I was done for life. I laid there.
You got fucking hang lows, man. Fuckers are hanging real low that day.
It hit, and it stuck and dragged up.
Oh, God.
So then I got poop balls. Shit nuts.
Oh, shit.
You know how bad that hurt?
Oh, I bet it was horrible.
I wasn't as fat then as I am now, but it still hurt. I was still a big guy.
Regardless. That's still your weight going down on your nuts. I don't like it.
Lithophilia, when all you want to do is roll around in stone and gravel. You really haven't felt ecstasy until you've had a pebble go up your dick hole. It's so good. Coprophilia. This is people that are turned on by shit.
Okay, yeah, I knew somebody that was like that. So.
Oh, you did? You knew someone?
Well, through the grapevine. I think I've told the story before. There's the couple who I heard about the couple that went out and bought a glass table so that he could lay under it and she could stand on top of it and shit.
And shit?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, no.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Autoplosophilia. When you're turned on by dressing up as giant cartoon-like stuffed animals.
Yeah, those are furries.
I'm glad you know. But Gil was into much darker things, okay? He was into the fantasies of kidnapping people, women, putting them in suitcases, delivering them for a game, killing them, cooking them, and eating them. This is where the Cannibal Cop comes through. And I must emphasize this, that he never acted on these desires. This was all role-playing stuff. So just like you fucking weirdos that LARP out there that run around parks and swing cardboard swords at
people
each
still
other.
do that?
Yeah, they do. Probably 90% of the people that listen to this podcast.
Okay. All right.
He had dark fantasies that he liked to role play and act out, but he never ever acted on any of these things that he's accused of. They were all just words. Sometimes words do hurt, but in this instance, these words, But he was on a website called darkfetish.net, and I can already hear your fucking keyboards like,
we've all been there before.
Darkfetish.net, and this is where he would get on and write his stories about different bondage scenarios, different dark sex acts. There was all kinds of role-playing stuff that he would do with other users. This is more of like a forum, a chat room where these people they would plan out a murder, kidnapping, cannibal. They would plan the whole entire thing out. They would go through it like they were going to do it, and then they would stop before they would do it.
Yeah.
He was actually, one of his partners was a Pakistani butcher. What a fucking person to pick for your crime.
I know.
And the Pakistani butcher, he said, and they have all the chat logs, the Pakistani butcher said for Gil to carry out these acts on his wife. And the Pakistani butcher said, if she screams, you can't show mercy, it's okay. In the chat logs, Gil says, I'll be able to move on. Like we said, these are all fantasy type things. But his name, Gil's username on this website was Girl Meat Hunter. And I thought this was a play on Boy Meets World, like, because Sean Hunter was the main, I thought Girl Meat Hunter, I thought it was maybe a play on Boy Meets World. But this was his username on this dark fetish website. All over the world, people are talking about weird shit online, and you can be anyone you want to be, where you can do anything you want to do on the internets. I remember when I was in the 5th grade, I would log on to AOL chat rooms with my dad's username, and I would try and get guys in the NASCAR chat rooms to suck my dick. Lots of guys would offer to do it. They're like, "How you like an old man with a colostomy bag and a mustache?" And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm only in the 5th grade. That's what I would do in the old AOL days. That's how I spent my time.
Hey.
I did have a Jeff Gordon, like, fucking varsity jacket, too.
You were prepared, man.
I was very prepared. Here is, this is one of the first conversations. We're going to play this now from, where he was talking about the Girl Meat Hunter shit. Let's play that now.
I want to warn you, it's graphic. He writes, I have longed to butcher and cook female meat. His buddy Allie responds, young women are good, nothing too big and fat. American meat has its own taste. I'll make a good meal for you. Gil types back, I'm dying to taste some girl meat.
Okay.
All right.
That's pretty fucking weird, right? Maybe not. Maybe it is. It's all blurred at this point.
Yeah.
For me.
Technically, it's hypothetical.
It's very hypothetical. He also speaks, like we said, he got hired by the New York Police Department, and he went to speak briefly about his time as a police officer, and he lost his job after all this stuff happened. But here he is speaking about being a police officer.
I was a great cop. I was well respected. I was very proud of my career. I was respected by my peers, by my supervisors, by the community. I was very proud. I enjoyed being a police officer very much.
So, and he talks about this in the interview he does with us. He worked there for 7 years, I think. No complaints. He passed the sergeant's test. He was admired by his fellow officers. He did a good job. But Gil was having some issues with his computer, and he needed to use his wife's computer. His wife suspected that he was having an affair when actually he was just having these fantasies and acting these role-playing scenarios out online.
Yeah, and he talks about this in the interview. He goes in a little bit more detail with this.
But his computer was broken. So he opted to use her computer. So her, being a suspicious wife, she installed spyware on her computer to see what he was doing on her computer. Well, it turns out that he was in these chat rooms, and much of these played-out fantasies had to do with her, some of her friends, some of their acquaintances. But that's the thing that Gil says, that when you fantasize about something, seldomly do you fantasize
about a faceless person.
Right.
It's always somebody that you know.
It's always the lady next door.
Yeah.
Your friend's mom, for instance. Our friend's mom, Carol. She's a longtime listener of the show. She's our friend Sean. It's his mom, actually. And for her age, you know, she's fucking got it going on, honestly. Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Carol, if you're listening, hit me up. I can't do anything. I'm married, happy.
Message Sean. Sean can get you in touch with us.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, buddy. Sorry.
We fucking ruined everything by doing that, Rob. But she installed this spyware on the computer. So first off, she finds the porn that he's been looking at. I would assume there's bondage, some rapey stuff, different fucking things going on. But then she goes on to find the chat logs where he's talking about killing her, eating her, killing some of her friends, eating them, but it's all role play fantasy stuff.
Right, right.
But to the eyes of an unsuspecting wife, you can see where she would be like, okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna fucking eat me. She saw where that he was sharing stories of his fantasy to kill her and other women and eventually eat them. But to his defense, this is what turned him on, not something he actually wanted to carry out. The conversations he's having with these anonymous people made it out of where they were supposed to go, and he never intended for that to happen. But the whole world got to see what he was doing. And I think when you have anonymous conversations with someone on the internet, no matter what you're into, I think it's pretty safe to say that's where it should stay. And you can that's the thing about the internet. You can be, say, do whoever you want to be, just like you and I on this podcast.
Yeah.
We're not these fucking goofballs all the time.
No.
We're mostly miserable for the most part.
just like you guys.
But for an hour a week, we get this shit right here.
Get to play around a little bit.
To play around, yeah. 69 scissor and stuff.
Hey,
do all kinds
off the table.
We do all kinds of playing around. But in the interview, he talks about his wife finding out. But we took this from this Chris Hansen guy, the fucking I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC. This is from True Crime Daily. Here he is talking about when his wife finds out.
She installed spyware on my computer.
Why did she feel the need to install spyware?
She thought I was having an affair.
An affair would have been a relief compared to the terrifying things Gil's wife ultimately uncovered. You talked about kidnapping her and her friends, putting them in suitcases, raping them in front of each other, and killing and eating them.
Right.
That's going to scare a woman.
I understand that. And these were fictional writings again.
But were they? Turns out Gil had these demonic plans for his wife after their very first date. In his memoir, Raw Deal, Gil writes when he got home, he pleasured himself sexually while, quote, imagining her being chloroformed and kidnapped, stripped naked, and laid out on a platter with an apple in her mouth.
Well,
that's one way to do it.
Right.
Oh, man. At first, I guess she kind of wanted to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
But she did say she needed some time alone. But here's, in my opinion, where he made his mistake. He used real places and real people in his stories, which kind of looks suspect to the person from the outside.
Right.
She did want to work things out and go to a couples therapist, but someone got in her ear and said he needed to report that she needed to report what she'd found to the authorities. So that's when the FBI got involved, and the FBI started watching what he did. And a month after she left him, 6 FBI agents stormed through his front door and take him into custody. The FBI, like I said, they had been watching him. They said that, and this is where the research gets skewed, they said that he was looking at personal information, using a law enforcement database to do these things, but listen to the interview, get his side of the story before, you make any judgments. But he was charged with conspiracy to commit murder and illegally accessing a federal law enforcement database. There's thousands of people in these chat rooms, okay? Thousands of people that make up these imaginative stories, do these weird fantasies, and act out these all kinds of weird stuff. We prosecuted everyone that did these role-playing things and talked bad on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook would be it'd have their fucking hands full, wouldn't they?
Maybe that's for the better.
You're absolutely right. There would be no end to the amount of shit that there's all day long. It's just fucking vehement, nasty, vile shit on the internet.
Oh yeah, listen to us all the time, man. Fuck.
We'd be arrested 15 times.
Oh, right, exactly.
He never purchased any of the items that he said that he was going to use in these crimes. He never talked to any of these people outside of the forum. He kept it completely restricted to role-playing on this dark fetish net.
And if you ask me, which nobody is, but I think that, this sounds like for somebody with that type of interest, this seems like a very healthy outlet for it.
It does, and it sounds like he's managing it.
Yeah, and even though he is putting real names and things into it, that with him doing that, he's still, not acting on anything.
Not
so
breaking the law.
Is there really any harm done? And, he could be very well going out and pursuing these things and doing this, but instead, he's just talking about them and sharing them with strangers, which what he said before, he was a very private person. He didn't talk to anybody about this thing.
Right.
And I mean, being anonymous, kind of helps out. And, that gave him a healthy outlet for him to, talk about it and discuss it with other people.
Jeez. You couldn't be more right. It's weird, but he was managing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was found guilty in March of 2013 of all charges. So he was found guilty of conspiracy to commit kidnapping and illegally accessing a federal law enforcement database. So he was taken into federal custody for... This could land him life in prison, is what the punishment was for this. His defense attorneys immediately file a motion to appeal, rightfully so.
Yeah, definitely.
In the appeals court, the conviction 21 months later, after he spends 21 months in a federal lockup.
Which, how long did he said he did? They made him do 7 months in solitary? Yeah, and because just because of his law enforcement background, and I'm sure... Yeah, and I'm sure with how things worked at where I used to work, it was any high-profile case would also they would also be put in solitary just for fear of injury to that person. But yeah. So it's between those two, 7 months though of being in solitary, so not seeing a single person besides the guards who do their duty walking through.
Jeez, man.
That's
miserable,
crazy. Yeah.
And he said
especially for somebody who didn't do anything, who didn't physically do anything.
Yeah, well,
it's wild.
It is. He was. Like we said, it was overturned. The conviction was overturned in June of 2014 after 21 months in federal lockup. And this is what the judge, Paul Gardeffi, had to say, quote, moreover, the nearly year-long kidnapping conspiracy alleged by the government is one in which no one was ever kidnapped, no attempted kidnapping ever took place, and no real-world steps were ever taken. And this is from Gil's book. He goes on to say that this is the thing about being a virgin at 25 years of age. At some point, it becomes less about the sex and more about just getting it over with, so you don't have to think about it anymore. So he does say in his book that he was a virgin until he was 25 years old. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true or not. That's something we didn't ask him about directly for the interview, but I could imagine you probably have to explore some pretty fucked up shit if you hadn't had sex by the time you were 25.
Definitely.
Now, this next clip is directly after he walks out of the federal lockup, and he's hitting the streets for the very first time as a free man.
I want to take this opportunity to apologize to everyone who's been hurt, shocked, and offended by my infantile actions.
Not only did we know our client was innocent, but we really believed in the rule of law.
Ooh.
Cops usually don't fare well in prison.
Right, and that's why they put me in solitary for my protection. But it was a total nightmare.
I want to go home, guys, please. 21 months, I want to go home now.
I can't imagine what that motherfucker felt when he walked up out of that jail.
Completely off topic, but I know he said it during the interview, but his attorney was pretty good looking.
She was. She was not bad at all.
No.
She was a very good attorney. Now, one weird thing is there was a star witness named Kimberly, and Kimberly was acquaintance of he and his wife.
Oh, yeah.
And she was called to the stand, and there was actually something that he made called Abducting and Cooking Kimberly, a blueprint. And this is one of his role-playing fantasies. And he said that the materials needed was a car. It says, have it.
Have it. Got it.
Chloroform, refer to website for directions. Rope, strongest kind to tie her up securely. Gag, duct tape, ? Something to put in the trunk to collect any DNA, plastic bags, tarps, a separate bag to gather her clothes, gloves, and cheap sneakers. There was actually an episode of Law & Order SVU titled Thought Criminal, was inspired by Valley's case. And this next portion is it's about his books, but he speaks about his books during the interview. So stick around for the episode, or for the interview. His book is a tell-all. He goes through everything in the book, but then he kind of goes through everything with us during the interview. So
he's an awesome interview. It was good to talk to. He's pretty open, just like we said. Yeah, give it a listen.
Thanks for listening. This is the third time we end this episode.
It is. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. What's up, guys? You know what time it is. It's Nicolicious here to tell you about Blue Chew. You can finally increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, guys. Do you remember when you were younger and that package was just not that floppy? Now you've gotten a little older. It's not always ready to go. That package isn't quite as hard as it should be when it delivers. Well, Blue Chew is here to help you out. That's right, BlueChew.com. That's blue like the color blue. Brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. And the good thing about Blue Chew, it's ready whenever you are, when you're full, when you're starving. It doesn't matter day or night. It's in a chewable, convenient tablet, so it works twice as fast as a pill. It can be ready whenever you're ready to get the business done. Now, I've taken Blue Chew. My wife has known a substantial difference. I'm picking it up. I'm putting it down. She's ready for a break. I'm coming back for more. I'm longer. I'm stronger. And I'm ready to put that dong on her. And if you think you could benefit from the extra function and more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a nice, discreet package, so there's no awkward in-person doctor's visits. They'd make sure you're taken care of. And the best thing about Blue Chew is it's made in the USA. Happy 4th of July. So here it is, guys, only for the listeners of Ohio. Go to BlueChew.com. That's BlueChew.com. Use the promo code BROHIO. They're going to give you your first shipment free. All you have to cover is the cost of shipping, $5. You send us a screenshot of your order, and the Bros of Ohio are going to send you a free sticker. That's Blue Chew. Promo code BROHIO. All right, here's the interview we've all waited for. The Bros of Ohio are here with Gilberto Valle. Valle. I'm sorry. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Valley. You had it right the first time.
Okay,
like Frankie
so.
Valley.
Try to put a little extra fanciness on the end there.
Right. We are two fat idiots from Ohio with we're beyond happy to have you here, Gil, and we thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview with us, and hopefully this is a good change of pace compared to what you're used to.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity, but nobody in your audience is going to know who Gilberto Valle is. You can say the nickname. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. But once you get it out of the way, that's it.
Okay. Right. Well, one of my best friends at work, his name's Gil, And I call him Gilbilly, but I don't think there's too many Gilbillys in New York, man.
No, certainly not here.
We got a whole bunch of hillbillies here in Ohio, but it's
Really, you wouldn't think.
you absolutely wouldn't think.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. We're like the Florida of the North, man. It's
Right.
it's just fucked up here.
You guys Buckeyes fans over there?
What
Ohio State?
the thing about Rob and I, I'm a big sports guy. Rob's kind of in the middle. We're both pretty. I'm a huge Bengals fan. He's a Bengals fan. I'm a diehard Reds fan. But the Bengals, it's kind of like, or the Buckeyes. I'm sorry. It's kind of like you're expected to be like, oh yeah, man, OHIO, like a huge Buckeyes fan right from the second you're shit out of your mom's ass.
Yeah,
that's not how.
No,
I'm just not a big college sports fan.
I get it. It's not for everybody.
College sports is too busy for me. There's too much going on.
There's
too many teams. I just
Too many teams. It's all like based on media votes, and they're amateurs, so things can go kind of haywire.
Yes.
And I'm the kind of Ohio State in this area is kind of like, well, in this state, I should say, it's like the team you root for because you know they're going to be good.
And
that's the only reason why people root for them, because I bet you don't see people rooting for like Ohio University or any of the other ones. It's like if you want to say you like sports, you just say you like Ohio State and Ohio, and everybody's like, yeah,
oh, goddamn Buckeyes, man.
That's a safe answer for sure.
But again, I do appreciate you taking the time out, and Gil did tell us he's got some bulldogs in the background, some boxers in the background. So if those guys decide to chime in, there's a good chance mine might chime in as well. So
please excuse Dudley and Tyson over here.
Okay, good deal.
No big deal.
Speaking of Tyson, I've shared a video on Facebook today. It's
oh man, it's so
the
great.
Opening credits of Family Matters, and they replaced all the characters' faces with Mike Tyson.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful.
It's done really well too.
But I would like to say, Gil, before we get started here, just to cover one aspect. I know this is a bit of a sensitive subject, but you've been round and round with it. If there is anything that you would like removed from what we do, removed from the interview, we'll be more than happy to oblige. This isn't live, just recorded for us to edit up and shoot out later. But from the sound of it and from the looks of the interviews, you're pretty much, you're a fucking stand-up guy, and you're like, here's my story, and
yeah, the criminal case is over, so I can, I don't have like lawyers giving me gag orders. You can't talk about this or that. Like everything's on the table. It's hard to talk about. It's never easy to talk about.
For sure.
There are questions that you're gonna have, and I understand it's part of the whole deal. So
sure,
let's rock and roll. It's fine.
I guess the best place to start is in the beginning. I guess, did your sexual interest start at a young age, or was there something that came along? Was this something that came along the older you got?
Yeah, that's the thing. People read about my case, and like, here's this cop in New York City who was like so close to kidnapping and eating women, so he must have been like this lunatic who was foaming at the mouth. There must have been something in his childhood. Like, how could he end up that way? Like, I had the most normal childhood.
Yeah,
you could imagine. My parents divorced they separated when I was like 5. They divorced when I was 9, and other than that, I had the most typical American baseball player and a lot of friends, very popular.
Yeah.
When I hit puberty, I kind of noticed that I would get aroused by on TV seeing a woman tied up. It was like, that kind of got me going.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of started, maybe around 12 or 13 years old, with the onset of puberty. And like most sexual fantasies, mine are very atypical and violent and what have you. But whatever people's sexual fantasies are, most of the time, if not all, people sort of incorporate people that they know in their lives into those fantasies.
You're goddamn right about that.
Yep.
So, for me, and we'll get into the details of the case, I'm sure, a little later, what scared people about this case was that there were women that I knew in my life who were involved in these fantasies, but that wasn't abnormal. I incorporated women that I knew, into my sexual fantasy. But my sexual fantasy obviously is very, taboo.
Sure.
And not everyone gets it. And there are a lot of very taboo things. I've done a lot of research. People have, I've been evaluated by several doctors, and I've gotten a clean bill of health. Right, I'm not a danger, nothing.
Yeah.
But I've been told there's like this thing called dendrophilia, where people are aroused by like having sex with trees. Like, why couldn't I get that one?
That's me, dude. That's you're talking to him.
It's like, man, of all the unusual things, why couldn't I get that one? Whatever, in person.
Yeah, every time we're out in public and Nick sees one of those little knot holes in a tree, I have to grab him and hold him back a little bit. So that's all right.
Pull me back.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it kind of evolved. Like so I start to look at pornography and I look for the stuff that arouses me, right? So it's about like bondage and domination and seeing women tied up and completely under control, and it sort of evolved into this whole cannibal thing where they would be like prepared to be eaten, and that was like the ultimate form of domination and control. Sure. And it's so embarrassing to talk about.
No, man. Fuck.
Imagine your family, like my mom and dad in court, right? They're in this trial, and they're like, all of my chats, my emails, everything is like displayed in this huge screen for this packed courtroom. Like my mom's sitting behind me.
Just from what I can tell from watching your interviews, your mom is fucking awesome. She seems like the sweetest lady in the world.
Yeah, no, she was the sort of the face of our family when the whole case was going on. She's a Bronx girl, very tough.
She is.
So she was. My family we all went through a total nightmare. But
I can imagine.
For whatever, they were just so well equipped to handle it.
Sure.
I don't think we've ever talked about how difficult it was for them on the outside, because while I was in prison, they were the ones dealing with all the crap on the outside. Neighbors, coworkers.
Oh man.
I couldn't imagine what that was like, and they never really. It's one of those things where it's sort of like, it's not really discussed, and I never really got into how difficult prison was, especially solitary confinement. When they came to visit, it was sort of like, I'm surviving, things are okay, and for them on the outside, things are okay, and we just sort of never approached it. But it had to be tough for them, right?
Yeah, that's and are you an only child, or you have siblings?
No, I have two brothers.
Okay.
And one older, one younger. I'm the middle one, so like they say, sometimes the middle child's a little wacky.
I bet you they give you a fucking hard time at Christmas, don't they?
My family doesn't really bust my balls too much.
That's good.
Friends who stuck with me. One thing that going through something like this, a person really gets to know who their real friends and family are.
That's awesome.
So I've always been okay with the ball busting, and I knew I would get it a lot when I got out of prison, and I've always maintained that I'd much rather have people making fun and laughing than being afraid of me. That I'm this dangerous lunatic who's out on the prowl. I'm just like this guy who has a weird fetish, who was arrested, embarrassed in front of the whole country, and that's it. So that's the narrative I prefer, and that's which is the correct narrative,
right?
Unfortunately,
and that's
just this. I have this weird thing, and it's still there. It's not like a couple of these interviews I did, people were like, do you go to therapy? Like, are you on medication? Like, no, like there's not a pill I can take, and all of a sudden I snap my fingers and everything goes away. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great though?
Yeah, I mean that's the I don't know if that would be good or not. I guess for some certain thing, if you could cure alcoholism with a pill, just say, here, take a pill, cure it. But then it would take the variety out of life. It would, nothing would be fun anymore because they just make it fucking all go away.
Listen, obviously, I wish this never happened, but one side effect of all this is all this is now out in the open. So now I've had women who are like into this whole thing, right? Women who are, the whole BDSM thing. Yeah. Like I've had women who are like the submissives.
Yep.
Who have like come out of the woodworks and like into this whole thing, and so like now there are no secrets. I can sort of just
be yourself.
Exactly.
You can just own it.
Yeah. That's the whole idea. That's one thing. When the case wrapped up, I was sort of afraid of how I was going to be seen in society. Like, okay, I was out of prison and I was acquitted and exonerated, but am I going to be seen as this like pariah, this monster? But no, more people get it than I thought, which is
especially nowadays, man. I mean, things have changed in the past decade for sure.
Yeah, and especially in New York too.
Yeah,
in this city, and one good thing about the city is that people sort of move on to the next story fairly quickly. So, whatever, it's something that's part of my life for the rest of my life. I'm never going to live it down, especially since I've chosen to write books now. I'm now a fiction writer. And one other good thing, I hate saying that any of this is good because I have a daughter who has no idea who her father is.
Yeah, that's the toughest part for me.
That's the whole tragic part of this whole case. But so I hate saying that anything is good. We could say it's like making lemonade out of lemons.
Sure.
Maybe that's better, but the notoriety sort of affords me the chance to get my work seen.
Yeah.
So it's like not hard for my books to sell, pretty decent. Like nothing like I can retire or anything, but
sure.
This whole infamous situation for me, it does help as an artist to get my work out there.
I could see that working. When I'm going through my research, I saw that you went to the University of Maryland, which is that's a bit of a party school. If I'm
yeah.
You there should have been all kinds of fucking wild women there that were up for whatever you were looking for. Were you kind of a shy guy in college, or?
No, I wasn't at all. I wasn't. I was very popular. I always had friends. I was always dating people. There's just this one thing, this fetish I had. It was something that I intended to keep to myself for my whole life.
Yeah.
I never wanted to talk about it with anybody.
Yeah.
Like I said, I started it maybe when I was 12, 13 years old, and I was always able to sort of keep that in a box. And then when I'm out doing my thing, playing ball, hanging out with friends, like that was another box. But I had like, all that wacky stuff. They never crossed.
Sure.
It never affected my real life. I was never missing school. I was never missing work. Like my grades never suffered. Like I was never addicted to pornography. Nothing like that. So
you had your shit together, man.
as long as that stuff stays by itself and it doesn't affect my life. Like I have no reason to have to tell anybody about it because, who's going to be okay with talking to someone who has a, fantasy of seeing a girl like tied up with an apple in her mouth?
Well, I'm telling you, man, the people you're talking to right now, our listeners, are fucking completely cool with whatever you got going on. You're talking into it. I'm sure you might even hear from a few of our listeners, like these wild women.
Listen, like I said, now that this is all over, maybe I was wrong about my approach. Maybe I should have been a little more open about it, and people would have been a lot more understanding. Because I've lived that now. People are reaching out to me, and I'm seen as like this white knight for people with unusual fetishes.
Yes.
Last month, I was invited to present at this big convention in New Orleans, CrimeCon.
Yeah, we're very familiar.
So they wanted me to go and give a presentation, a lecture, and it went really well. A very smart audience. They kept their minds open, and and throughout the week, I had people come up to me at the hotel telling me, like this one really attractive teacher, she said, "Listen, I never told anybody this, but my fantasy is to be kidnapped and gang raped and like strung up in a shed, tortured."
Fuck yeah.
So like that's the kind of stuff that I get. Like people are like confessing their fantasies to me. It's like it's kind of this weird thing, but that's fine. Like I said, at least a lot of people get it. More people get it than I ever thought. So I'm able to sort of function and survive and live somewhat of a normal life.
I'm telling you, man, this 50 Shades of Grey movie is what fucking changed everything.
It really did.
After my wife watched that, she's like, "Take your belt off and choke me." I'm like, "Hold on, I'm not into this fucking. Hold on a second. Let's slow down for a second and see what the fuck we got going on here." It was that goddamn 50 Shades of Grey movie is what it was.
God bless it.
Now, since your conviction was overturned and you, I guess, reintegrated into society, I hate to even call it that because that's what you say about someone who is actually, an offender. But since
for lack of a better term, that's fine.
Right, your reentry into society. How has your love life been since then? I know you kind of touched on it that you've had a lot of people talk, like kind of confide in you about their different fantasies and whatnot. But how is your love life aside from obviously what happened with your wife? How has your love life been?
It's been okay. I'm currently single. I've had 2 relationships.
DMs are open.
Yeah, DMs are open. I've had actually, the first girl I dated was pretty quickly after my case wrapped up. She actually was a law student who worked on my case, and
Holy shit.
she messaged me via, so like she got the whole thing, right? She understood what I was about, so that was fun, and it was about 8 months, but this ended up happening with the second relationship I had too, where like the woman, like she's okay with hanging out with me, she knows I'm not a danger, but they just couldn't find a way to explain it to their family, to their friends, right? like, listen, I'm dating the Cannibal Cop.
Yeah.
Like, so it hurt. It really sucked. Like, especially the second one really, really hurt. The second girl had kids, and she's like, and an ex-husband, and she's like, I swear, like, if he ever finds out, if my kids ever find out, like, it's, so I've had to deal with that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, and I understood her position. She's trying to look out for the best interests of her kids. Like it's just an unfortunate situation. But other than that, like, I don't know if you saw, but the whole Match.com fiasco. Did you guys see that?
The only thing, internet dating I came across was like your initial run-in with your wife through OkCupid.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I read about, but I don't know anything about the Match.com stuff.
Yeah, so sometime after I was out, things were pretty quiet. Like, I was going out and not being recognized, so I was like, all right, let me try to start dating again. So I made a Match.com profile, and I swear, like, within 3 hours, the New York Post had found it already.
Jesus. Holy shit.
I was on the front page the next day. The headline was "Hungry for Love."
Oh, it's so bad.
Like, how the hell did they find it so freaking fast? I have no idea. Like, I mean, jeez.
Yeah, dude, it's a different world now for sure.
And listen, and what really pissed me off is that Match.com deleted my profile.
Assholes.
I had like 15 messages that I couldn't read. I don't know if, like, I had people telling me to fuck off or whatever, but like, why can't women make their own decision as to whether or not they want to message me or whatever? Why do they have to go and do that? That's what really pissed me off.
It's so weird.
They deleted my thing. I was irate.
And that's
the one thing that's the other thing that I've noticed is that you're anytime there's any sort of headlines, they always make the worst puns ever. Like, what was the one that we just saw? What was it?
Something about your wife, meet the wife.
Meet the wife. MEA. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, man, these fucking people.
Well, it's rough. Yeah.
These taglines are horrible.
One girl wrote a story about my dating life and said that women are looking for love bites from.
Oh, jeez.
And that's what I want to hammer it again. Like, they call you the Cannibal Cop. You're portrayed in a certain light in many different medias, but you have a completely clean rap sheet. You have never had any. There was never any problems leading up to this with you. There's no ex-girlfriends that came out and said, "Okay, he was this way or that." There was nothing.
No, and one amazing thing about the case that my lawyers. First of all, what helped was that I had an attractive female lawyer. I think that really.
Okay.
I had an attractive female defending me, right? And I knew from day one that I would be okay with her. The first day she argued, on my behalf at that first bail hearing, I was like, all right, she totally gets it. From the first second met me, she got it.
Yeah.
The witnesses the government called, other than my ex-wife, the rest of the witnesses, they all made me out to be like a saint. It was the weirdest thing. Like, here are women who I fantasized about, right? And they knew it, now they knew it and everything, and they said, no, he's the nicest guy, and never felt threatened around him, or never raised his voice. He was never like, he's just a really like cool, nice guy, normal guy. So it was like just this weird thing where the government witnesses were making me out to be not a monster, not someone who they felt threatened by.
Right. And when we usually cover these things, the more we dig into the suspect, the more we see they had a lot of things, below the surface that you're just like, man, this guy was a fucking shit stain. But the more I dug into this, I was like, there's nothing. This guy had nothing going on. He just was into different stuff that,
Yeah.
And whenever he was in private, there was nothing, crazy that he never pursued any of this stuff. It's just kind of the stuff that he was into on the computer.
Yeah, and listen, like the stuff I wrote online is very graphic and very gruesome, and
But there's an audience
very,
for that.
like, listen, but and then very detailed. Like these events, these fake kidnappings, and all that stuff was supposed to take place in this mountain house in the middle of nowhere with a human-sized oven. Like none of that stuff ever existed.
Right.
There were like dates, right? One of the most asinine things about this case was the government alleged that I was going to be in 3 different places at the same time on February 20th. They said I was supposed to kidnap a girl in Manhattan, a girl in Ohio, and I was going to bring another one to India.
You don't want any
You're
girls
watching
from
one of the Ohio girls yet?
Yeah. So, once that came out, everyone kind of got it. And then, the media coverage sort of turned into like a joke. Like I was seen as a joke. I wasn't seen as this threatening guy anymore. So once, and that's how it's been since the case ended. Like I said, I've been seen as sort of a punchline, and they like to poke fun, and that's all well and good. Like I'm totally okay with that.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said, like you would think, the FBI, right? This is the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office. He's like the best of the best, and they just really dropped the ball badly on this case.
Think about all the shit going on in New York City, and they're
yeah, all joking aside, a lot of lives were ruined here.
Yeah.
By really incompetent investigation, and compounded with misinformation and just flat out lies that were never corrected. And,
right.
For the judge to do what he did, the jury convicted me, and it came out that they convicted me because they were afraid of what I might do in the future, not on anything that I already did.
You can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's not how the criminal justice system works. So for the judge to, not give me a new trial, but to straight up acquit me, like that never happens in federal court. So
Right.
just
No.
the judge taking that step should show people who have doubts, like there's no chance this was a real crime. If there was even a fraction of evidence, the judge wouldn't have done what he did.
Right.
And I was looking at life in prison. This wasn't a 2-year vacation at some low-security facility. This was like the rest of my life in prison for this shit.
Well, that's a good segue to our next question here. Rob worked in a county lockup for a while. I worked in a state maximum security facility for about 4 years, and I worked at a local police department for about 5 years. And some of the guys I worked with at the police department, there was some seriously fucked up guys where I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. But everybody was pretty good for the most part. But just because people think, when it comes to people that are law enforcers or cops, that since they are in that position, that they can't be any, there's no certain element of taboo about them. They're kind of just straight like a robot, that they can't have any personality. And they do.
Yeah, cops aren't robots, and there are real dickhead cops who don't belong in the force, and they're good cops. You could always tell the cops who were like bullied, as kids.
Exactly.
Now they have authority, and they're just going out and they're gangbusters. They're hammering people for everything. I like to use common sense. I was like well respected by my supervisors, by the community. I never had a complaint against me in 7 years. Like, I was proud of my career. I was proud of what I did. I was a good cop. And I do miss certain things about it, and there's some things I don't miss. I know my family's thrilled that I'm not out there.
Your life expectancy went up about 15 years after you got out of that profession.
Yeah, right, for sure. Because I had about 13 years left. Who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
We're human beings too. Okay? Everyone. Human sexuality is very complicated. It doesn't
very complicated.
Depend on your occupation. It doesn't depend on your upbringing. I mean, you're predisposed to certain things. It's like, you just find what arouses you through like conditioning, right? Like basic psychology. Like okay, so this arouses me. I'm gonna seek more of that stuff.
Right. And it's not like you can pick it. I mean, it just happens.
Yeah, no, it just. If I could pick it, I would have picked something else.
Yeah, my wiener gets hard all the time, and I have no idea what's going on. I be sitting there picking up a bag of cat food or something, and off it goes, man. It's hard to, like you said, it's not something you can just, pick, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't get that. You know, the people who think that I can take a pill, like they're shocked that, like, wait, you still have these fantasies? You're almost locked up for the rest of your life. How can you still have these fantasies? Like, they just don't get it. Like, I can't just snap my fingers and it goes away.
Right. Yeah. If it was that easy, it'd be something that you'd probably do yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd be like, I don't want that to happen. I'm going to change it.
Just ridiculous.
When you were incarcerated for 21 months, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Were you in a county lockup, or were you in a federal?
It was a federal holding facility with other like pre-trial inmates.
Okay.
It was right in Lower Manhattan. I could look out the window and see police headquarters, for crying out loud.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So for the first 7 months, I was in solitary confinement because they were afraid, obviously, for my safety as a police officer. They didn't want me to. They didn't want to put me in general population. And then after 7 months, I had enough. I had a meeting with the assistant warden and basically convinced him to give me a chance. I said, "Listen, I get my ass kicked on the first day. You know, it happens, but I can't be alone anymore. 7 months, and
right.
I mean, I'm still a little bit not as as more time goes on, I'm able to sort of distance myself from that. But for the first couple of years, I couldn't sleep with my bedroom door closed. It just made me feel confined, and I had nightmares that I was waking up, alone and locked up again.
Yeah,
really intense stuff. But general population, it was never a problem. People didn't see me as a police officer; they saw me as somebody who didn't belong there, and everyone knew about the case. Like the second I walked in, and people saw me, it was like everything just stopped. Like people were playing ping pong. I feel like
still there.
The ping pong ball stopped in the middle. Everyone kind of watched me for a couple of days, and after a couple of days, they saw that I was this normal guy. And listen, I had some really bad days in there where I was just one of the hardest things was that I didn't have a day to look forward to. I didn't know when the judge was going to rule on our post-trial motions.
Right.
It wasn't like, here, July 1st is going to be the day. Was there a slow
build up, or what? Was there a week leading up to the point where where it was overturned that you said, okay, I think it's coming, or was it all of a sudden that you got the word
it was one day. It was one day. I found out about 3:00 in the afternoon. I had an email from my lawyer that the judge is going to make his ruling today. But I didn't know what time. So 3:00, 4:00, I was calling them every hour and nothing yet. And then lockup was at 9:30, and at 9:30 I still hadn't heard anything yet. So I was locked in my cell for the rest of the night, and it turned out the judge made his ruling around 11:00 that I was acquitted.
Oh, wow.
So my family, my lawyers, my family, everybody knew. I was the last one to know.
That sucks.
That's crazy.
So I didn't know until 6:00 the following morning when they unlocked my cell. I ran to the computer, checked my email, and I had 9 emails from family and from my lawyers. And we were expecting a new trial. We never thought the acquittal was going to come through, just because it never happens. We sort of just this is sort of what defense lawyers do, but it never happens. It should happen. We thought it should, because there was no crime committed here, but don't bank on that. But we felt really good about getting a new trial. So when I saw that the acquittal came through, I had to read that part a couple times before it really sunk in.
How soon did you get out? Physically get out after that?
About an hour later.
Oh, jeez.
Get the fuck out.
Talk about one extreme to another.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah. It sounds weird, but I wish I had almost a full day to just say goodbye to everybody there, because a lot of those inmates, I had really rough days, just not knowing when the end was coming, or what was going to happen. And they kind of sensed that I was having a rough day, and they just really supported me. They really helped me through those bad days. On my birthday, some of them baked me a cake. I mean, just really these nice things that these felons, these are people who committed real crimes. These are people, I spent 7 years putting people in prison.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing, a more human side of these kinds of people. I'll never forget that. And, you juxtapose that with lack of support from my former colleagues from the police department.
Yeah.
Not a peep to me or my family. Not reaching out to my family really pissed me off because once I was out of prison, now all of a sudden they're all coming out of the woodworks like, Gil, we knew from day one this was bullshit.
Where were you at, motherfucker?
We knew. Yeah, but what, how can you leave my family in the dark? My father went to the precinct the day I was arrested and they threw him out.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
And my father didn't tell me that till a couple years later. And when he told me that, I mean, I blocked out a lot of those people who were like, with the fake outrage about how I was arrested and stuff. Like, so here you have these felons in prison who are looking at 15, 20 years who are really treating me like a human being, like a friend who doesn't belong there. So my just looping back, I wish I had a kind of a day to just thank all those people and say goodbye to them, but I didn't even have time to collect my mail. My mail was left behind.
We have got messages before that inmates listen to us on smuggled cell phones, so there's a good chance that someone out there that knows you, that was kicking it with you, that they're hearing this right now.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, I can't. Dude, I would feel like the entire weight of the world just being lifted off your shoulders, off your entire body at that point.
So I was free, but not really free because the government had a chance to appeal, and they did appeal. So there was always sort of that black cloud hanging over me where, I'm out of prison, but if the Court of Appeals overturns what the judge did, I'll be back in jail. But the Court of Appeals, we had a pretty good sense during the oral argument phase that they were going to uphold what the judge did. I mean, one of the judges compared this conspiracy, my conspiracy to kidnap and eat women, to a conspiracy involving leprechauns on the moon delivering cocaine,
right up our fucking alley.
Yeah. So once that kind of came out and the judges saw this as like a farce, we had a pretty good feeling that
that's good.
I was going to be okay. Yeah.
God, that's good. And you're no longer in law enforcement. I think I read that you were working in construction at one point.
Yeah. I'm not out there hammering stuff. I'm doing more the administrative side of construction. The president of this company, I knew him from before.
Yeah.
The Cannibal Cop was born. So, so I was like struggling to find a job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew law enforcement was out, even though if I wanted to go back, it's not realistic. I couldn't go back,
Yeah.
Someone's going to call 911, and all the media here have scanners, so they're going to be following me everywhere. So that just couldn't happen.
Yeah.
So I called him up. He actually wrote a letter to the judge on my behalf. I called him up and said, "Listen, help me out here." I didn't come out like that. I mean, his response when I asked him was, "Why didn't you ask me sooner? Like, you should have asked me right away. I would have given you a." So I didn't really know. He didn't really know what I was going to do. So he just said, come in, hang out. If you want to work on your book or whatever, that's fine. And I'm still there almost 5 years later now. So I kind of taught myself estimating, which is very boring. It's not like being a cop. It's, I don't want to get into it because it's just so boring. But I taught myself how to do that. I'm not a dumb kid. I'm not a dumb guy.
Right.
But this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Sure.
Right? If I wanted to do construction, I would have gone to architectural school. I would have gotten involved in that. But it's something. I mean, I can't say enough how important it was to help me get back into a normal routine. Right. So I work a 9-to-5 job Monday through Friday. Everyone at the office just treats me like Gil. Like I never had a moment where I thought that someone there was kind of looking at me funny or was nervous around me. Like from day one, I was able to just be myself, and that really helped me back into the swing of things and sort of made me feel like things could be okay. And then, once I got the job, then I started dating, and I see women are into the whole thing, so I've been okay there. I would like to settle down again and get married again, and I'm in no rush to do that. But
no, don't fucking rush that shit, man. That's how you get the crazy ones.
No, for sure. But I'd like to try again.
Absolutely.
I lived a good life, a productive life. I'm a productive citizen, and I had the whole thing planned out, right? I was a cop. I was going to work my way up. We were going to move out of the city, buy a house, and that all kind of fell apart. I'd like another chance. Now that everything is, all my skeletons are out, there are no secrets. We'll see. But things could be better, but they're okay.
Okay.
They're we'll see what happens. Like I say, the con went really well, and that's the bottom line. A lot more people get it. A lot more people are supportive than I ever thought, and
Sure.
That's a really good thing.
You're absolutely right. And now, I guess I don't remember if I asked this question or not. I have it written down. But was there any? Was your wife suspect of your interest in the beginning, or was this something you kind of kept from her at the beginning of your marriage?
Yeah, I kept it from everybody. She didn't know about it either. So I imagine, she found it by putting spyware on the computer, and then she saw what I was looking at. So,
I read that, man. That's some fucking that's next level right there.
Well, she suspected that I was having an affair, right? So because I was up late on the computer, listen, I worked till midnight. I came home.
Dude, we've both been there.
Yeah, you can't go right to sleep, especially as a cop. You're still sort of jacked up from whatever crap you saw during the day. So, some nights I would watch a movie, watch TV. Some nights I would go on the computer and look at the porn I was into and do my chats and role plays, and I would stay up till 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So she was, she was suspicious, and she put the spyware on, and what she saw horrified her.
Was she directed by a private investigator, or did she do this all by herself?
No, she did it by herself.
God damn.
Yeah.
I don't want my wife to know about this shit. I asked Rob.
But listen, that day when she found out, there's this whole narrative out there that she took the baby and just ran out of the house with nothing but the clothes on her back. That's not what happened at all.
Okay.
She talked. She woke me up. We talked about it, and she was. And I didn't know what the hell, because this was completely pulling the rug out from under me. So the first time someone knew about my fantasy, somebody that I knew, other than these, people on the computer I was chatting. But this was someone in my real life who now knew what I was looking at, what I was chatting about, and she was obviously horrified, and I understood that, but. We talked it out. She said, "Listen, let me just get away for a while. I'm going to go to my parents' house. We'll work this out." She'd suggested that, and these are text messages. I have these text messages. This whole exchange that we had, where she suggested that we find a couples therapist and sort of try to work this out. Yeah. And I was thinking, that's about as good of a result that could have possibly happened, considering what she found. And at some point she got back to her parents' house, and this is the part of the story that's sort of a blank for me, is somebody convinced her to go to law enforcement with this stuff.
Okay.
And that wasn't her initial reaction. She had been talked into going to law enforcement, then we all know what happened from there.
Right.
But that's just one example of sort of what's out there. If people Google me, that's one of those things that's out there. The attractive wife found what he was into and ran out of the house, took the baby, and that's not even close. She was there for about 5 or 6 hours before she left. There's just a lot of misinformation, and it's frustrating. I mean, people who follow the case, read the transcripts, they understand what really happened. They understand all the facts of the case, but the average person who sort of just knows a case from what they read in the New York Post or something like that, a lot of them base their opinions on me on that information, which a lot of it is very, very inaccurate.
What is the biggest, misconception about you that you hear, besides, you obviously just covered this about her running out the second it all happened. What's the biggest false accusation that you hear?
The biggest one is the computer switches. So they said that I was using the patrol car on my computer and looking up women's addresses, and I was storing them on my computer. I had files on 100 women. That is so far from the truth. It's just, and that's the one thing that people point to and say, look, it wasn't just online role plays. He was actually looking women up and using his patrol car. Looking up addresses of women. So what really happened, and you can look, the criminal complaint shows that it was one time. It was May 31st, 2012. One time, not 100. One freaking time. And what happened was a woman who I was friends with for like 8 years, went to high school with her. She got into a car accident, and instead of calling her police precinct, she said, all right, I know Gil, he's a cop. Let me see if he can get the report number for me. So she called me up, said, sure, no problem. I typed her name in the computer, which I wasn't supposed to do. I mean, I violated NYPD policy. That's, whatever. The penalty for that is a loss of a vacation, not federal prison.
It's done every fucking day.
Every day. Cops do favors like that every day for people.
Yep.
So, my dogs are getting pissed about this. You hear them?
his dogs are going crazy too. I think they all know.
Yeah, they can sense it.
It's a fucking injustice,
it really pisses
man.
me off when I talk about it. So so it was one time. She had asked to do that favor, and she testified that in court. And when she talked to my lawyer, she said, if I knew he was going to get in trouble, I would have never asked.
Yeah, I'm glad we cleared that up. We haven't recorded the main episode yet. We're gonna record the research we found, and then we put your interview at the end. And I was not sure about that portion of the case where the research and the media portrays it like you were going through all these different files and saving all these things about all these different women when acting.
Yeah. So this is how it sort of got conflated. On my personal computer at home, I had pictures of women, like Facebook pictures, regular Facebook pictures, right? So I had those things on my computer. Then in court, the government was saying that I was using my patrol car computer improperly, and I ran people's names and took the. So it's sort of like people sort of put two and two together and said, all right, so we looked up women on the computer, and those are, the government always had files. Like he had files on women on the computer. It was just pictures. But you see how they take something and twist it and make it seem more nefarious than it really was.
Yeah, spank bank.
They try to spin that to their narrative.
Oh, totally. And then people who were there, the media, they report what's being alleged in court, and that's something that really never got cleared up, and it's frustrating because a lot of people base their opinions on that fact. Like I said, it wasn't just online fantasies. He crossed the line because he was using the computer in his patrol car, and he was looking up these women's addresses, and he had addresses stored on his computer, like not even freaking close.
Wow. Well, Gil, I honestly didn't know what to expect coming into this interview. I'm glad you're as cool as you are, and as open about all this stuff as you are. And I told Rob in the beginning, because Rob's not as familiar as I am, I said, he's all this stuff happened, but he's flying his freak flag, just like me and you do. I mean, once a week we record this podcast, and we're goofy and disgusting, and people tell us that all the time. But it's listen, I had two choices. I could have run, I could have hid from it, or I could have just. You'd be fucking miserable, man. If you hid, you'd be miserable.
For sure. So I chose to, I don't know if embrace it's the right word, but just sort of accept it and just try to rebuild and move on from it. And, it's never going to leave me. I get that, but whatever. It is what it is. I can't feel sorry for myself if I don't rebuild my life, and then they still win. The government, the FBI, they all still win if I don't rebuild. So I have to. Just that alone is motivation for me to rebuild my life.
That's definitely the best path I would say you could probably take.
Yeah.
And then before we go here, you've mentioned your books a couple times. Go ahead and if anybody wants to check those out, let everybody know what they're called and where to find them if you have a store. Or anything.
Yeah, sure. So if you go on Amazon and just search my name, Gil Valle, that's one L, Gil, and Valle, Vale, you'll see all my books there. There are how many have I written now? There are 3 that are currently published, one that's coming out in September. The first book is my memoir, Raw Deal, it's called, right? Nice pun.
I didn't think of it about it. I literally thought, man, you did get a fucking raw deal, but no, it's kind of, it goes.
Yeah, no, it totally works. So that's the memoir about my life, my case. If people want to sort of hear my side of the story, which is the truth, and like I said, I put the text message exchange between me and my wife from that day in there. I refer to a lot of court documents, like all that stuff in that book is accurate. So that's my memoir, and I enjoyed writing so much that I decided, and some people it's all right, you have these fucked up fantasies. Maybe you write a horror book. So that's what I did. My first horror book, which has been nominated for Novel of the Year, actually.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, so not bad. My first book, and I'm already nominated for an award. That's coming in August down in Texas. They have this big convention, and we'll see if I win. But it's called A Gathering of Evil. And what's interesting, and what I love when I read reviews, is people talk about how realistic it sounds. Like it's something that can happen in real life. It's not the type of horror that's like clowns and, ghosts and, zombies and things like that. This is like an actual extreme horror story that is like centered in sort of reality. And, it's not very funny. It's very, very disturbing. No. It's extremely violent.
It's for the people that listen to this show, I promise.
Yeah, well, hopefully, give it a shot. If you're looking for something that's going to make your stomach churn, go for it. Give it a shot, because I've been told by, and people can read the reviews from Amazon for themselves. Like, people have said, I've never read anything like this book. It's just so different because there's like a little bit of comedy, and like you really get to know all the characters. Even like the victims are not just like these objects who were slaughtered. They had like, you get to know them as people with families and things like that. So, that book is called A Gathering of Evil. Then the sequel is called The Social Catalog of Prey. And again, these are all on my Amazon page.
Okay.
So you don't have to memorize the titles. But that book is, the realistic part about that book is how people kind of their whole lives on social media, and they put where they're checking in, and like they just make it very easy to be located.
Yeah.
For any like predators out there. So.
It's true.
I go, when I write these books, I go for like realism, right?
Sure.
Like the realism is what scares people, and that's what a horror book's supposed to do. It's supposed to scare people. It's supposed to disturb you. So, I like to push the envelope with these books and really try and get under people's skin, and it's worked so far. So
it's good.
So yeah, the plan's to keep writing. I have another book coming out in September, and we'll see. It's now 4 books in like 3 years. It's pretty good.
Awesome.
Good. And I found you on Twitter, so if everyone wants to go to Twitter and Gil Valle, you guys can find him on Twitter. You got an Instagram.
Yeah, I'm all over the place.
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Twitter is Gil Valle 3.
Okay.
And I like, just like you've heard in this interview, I respond to everybody. If people have questions,
you responded us fast, man.
Yeah. I'm like this guy who's known in the media and stuff like that, but I consider myself still a regular guy. Like I like talking to people. So I'm not going to ignore anybody who wants to reach out to me. That's fine. If they want to, curse me out, that's fine. If they want to talk about my case, they have questions about my case or where to find my books, like whatever people want to talk about, I will reply. Like I'm not going to ignore anybody.
Now, in the spirit of Brohio, we cover aliens, ghosts, monsters, demons, true crime. We cover it all. But Rob and I are big into aliens, ghosts, and conspiracies. And with your time as a law enforcement officer, I guess your life in general, do you have any, just before we go real quick here, do you have any weird paranormal stories or kind of like aliens or anything that just made you in your career or in your life just go, that was kind of fucking weird?
No, I wish, because it seems fascinating. I do believe that there's life out there.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the whole Area 51 conspiracy. That's very interesting to me. No, I personally have not had any sort of paranormal type stuff. I mean, when I was a kid, my parents used to watch Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, it's good shit.
And that's with Robert Stack, the theme song used to terrify the hell out of me. But I like they had they had stories about ghosts and aliens, and just how many reports you see of UFOs and I watched on Netflix called Patient 17. You guys ever see that one?
No,
I watched that.
No.
No, it's this guy who said he was abducted by aliens and he had a chip planted in his leg or something. It was kind of funny because the guy was such a whack job. But,
those are the best people.
Yeah. So, like the aliens always pick the weirdest people, right?
Always.
They never
Conveniently.
I have to turn you on to Joe Rogan just did an interview last week with Bob Lazar. He was, I guess he was...
Area 51 whistleblower, pretty much.
I mean, this guy's got his shit together, and he's a scientist. So if you are, kind of interested. I would double back and
It's wild.
take a listen to that. That's some really good shit, man.
Yeah, I will, for sure. Because, yes, I think there's something out there.
Definitely.
I don't think we're alone.
Definitely not.
Well, Gil, I appreciate it so much, man.
Thank you for being such a good sport.
No problem, guys. Thanks
Yeah.
for the opportunity.
And I guess when my Reds are fucking 20 games back here at the All-Star break, I'll send my well wishes to the Yankees for you.
All right. Appreciate that. Thanks.
All right, but
thanks, man.
take care. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Good night.
Yeah.
What a super fucking guy.
Yeah, definitely. That was awesome.
Dude, I had no expectations coming into this.
Yeah, and this is kind of like a last minute thing. So it was earlier today. You're like, hey, guess what?
I know.
And I'm like, oh, holy shit.
How often do our interviews pan out that it seems like every time I go for an interview, the ones I contact weeks in advance, they're like, no. And the ones I contact the day of, they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine.
But not only that, but I mean, it's not that often where we get an interview with someone that our entire episode is about them. Usually it's
That's
like...
never happened.
Yeah, usually it's like...
Well, Stardust Ranch.
Right. Usually it's like a victim or something that's kind of in that ballpark, but not related to that case. But yeah, this is awesome.
Good shit. He said, here's my freak flag. Fucking take it if you
Loud and
want
proud. Yeah.
Jesus. And I completely forgot to tell him this, but Christiane, she was the one that obviously
the one who picked the topic,
and she was kind of in the same boat as us. She's like, I don't really know if this guy's necessarily the monster that the media portrays him to be. So
right.
If Gil, if you are listening to this, we all say thanks to Christiane for picking this topic, and she wanted to express her, she was just intrigued by the case, and she's very happy we're covering it. So
it definitely seems a lot different than it's portrayed. So
for sure,
yeah.
This is the end of the episode, but it's actually the beginning of the episode for us.
For us, yeah.
We haven't recorded the episode.
We're doing it backwards.
We're doing it backwards. We like to do it backwards.
yeah, we do.
But when we do these interviews first, it fucking lubes everything up and gets everything fluid, so we're talking a lot better at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, guys.
I'm here with Rob Dog.
I'm here with Nick.
He loves you.
We love you.
And that is not the end of the episode. We have to talk to Christiane now. She's the Patreon sponsor of the episode. So that's what we're going to do. And we're here with the special sponsor, Patreon sponsor of this episode, Christy. How are you, Christy?
You took the lesser of two evils there.
Sold out.
Listen, Christy has the most fucking weirdest... it's a conspiracy, but no one knows how to pronounce her first name.
That's how they do names in Canada.
Well, here's the thing. Did I ever tell you guys how I got my name?
It's from a book.
Yes. So my dad read a book about a German prostitute when my mom was pregnant with me.
Makes perfect sense.
Named me after her.
How flattering.
So the name is German, but you have to understand that I was named by a French-Canadian mom and an Anglo dad. So the way we pronounce it may not be accurate either.
All right.
You don't know how to pronounce your own name, nobody does.
Christy is short for what I am under the belief is Christiane, is how
Pretty
I'm going to...
close, yeah.
Okay.
Christiane.
Okay, Christiane. Like...
Yeah.
Okay. Like if Chris and Jan were a couple, like I said a few minutes ago. That's...
Yes.
That's okay.
100%.
What they call when J-Lo and Ben Affleck were together, what were they called?
I don't know.
Benifer.
Rob would know that.
I am the worst when it comes to pop culture. I have so much useless knowledge in my head.
It's funny because I ended up with this really obscure name that no one can say, and my name is really long. Like my middle name is Elizabeth, so anytime I have to fill out paperwork, my name is always too long. And then my sister, my younger sister, her name is Chelsea Ray.
She sounds like she's from Ohio.
You're right.
She's got the best name ever.
Oh man, well, Christy, she gave us two choices for the episode.
Wait.
What?
Before we get there, it's Canada Day.
It is. I don't know what the fuck that is.
What does that mean?
Is that where you guys lather up in syrup and fuck each other, or what is that?
Well, I mean that's how I spent my afternoon.
Listen to Alanis Morissette all day.
It is the celebration of Canada becoming a country.
Okay.
Much like your 4th of July. And
makes perfect sense now.
Canada's 152nd birthday this year.
That's pretty good, eh?
You guys get trashed and light off fireworks too?
I'm sure some people will. I am the parent of a young child, so I'll probably be in bed by 9:30.
Yeah, that's pretty late for me. Rob stays up.
I don't think I've ever been. To
Rob
bed
stays up all fucking night like a weirdo.
I'm wild.
Well, whatever makes you happy.
I strive on 6 hours of sleep a night.
Well, like I said,
Anyway.
happy Canada Day, and congratulations on your independence. Even though, who did you guys have to fight to win Canada? Because we had to fight the
Was it the French?
We had to fight the Redcoats.
I don't really think they fought anybody. I think it was just when they decided that we were going to be a country.
That's some pussy ass shit for sure.
Even though half of Canada's still only allowed to speak French.
All I'm going to say is there is one country that has burned down the White House twice.
was it Canada?
It was Canada.
Okay, there we go.
Well, try a third time.
Donald Trump's going to burn it down with that smoking hot ass he's got. You ever see him in his tennis shorts before?
He's thick. Thick bitch right there.
Good Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Now, she gave us the option of 2 different episodes. At first, she's like, she didn't, I didn't talk, she wrote this, but I think this is what it sounded like. She's like, hey, how about you cover the maple syrup height? There's something.
Okay. There's something amazing about that, though, if you think about it. Like, over the course of a couple of years, these guys stole the equivalent of like $18 million worth of maple syrup by emptying out the drums and filling them with water.
Ain't nobody gonna notice.
Yeah, so people are getting this Canadian syrup like, man, this really tastes like shit.
Well, they noticed when the barrels started to rust.
Oh, yeah, because did they let it like age for a while?
Yeah, they do. And
that's the
there's
good
like
shit
this whole
right
thing
there.
that like the place they stole the maple syrup from, the Quebec maple syrup thing, I don't remember the name. They're responsible for the production of something like 75% of maple syrup in the world.
Damn.
So like, it's Canadian, it's funny, but it's also fascinating. Like, to be like, in what universe would you think that somebody would be able to steal that much maple syrup and that it would be worth so much?
Very, very fucking Canadian, if you ask me.
It's the sticky bandits.
Yes.
What are you doing, Marv?
What are you doing, Marv?
I love it. And the second one she threw at us was the Cannibal Cop. And I said, ooh, this sounds wonderful. And I fire up the research machine, and I'm like, this guy didn't eat anybody.
Yeah, very unfortunate name.
Yeah, very unfortunate name. And I start getting into the research, and I kind of I'm like, this guy.
You gotta feel bad for this guy.
He was just into some really kinky shit.
It brings up a lot of like really interesting questions. As far as like he never hurt anybody, and from the way it sounds, he didn't really want to.
No,
like he had no burning desire to go out and do any of it.
He just wanted to get off.
Yeah, so it's this whole thing of like, can you persecute somebody for their thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, in the novel, was it 1984 by?
Yeah, 84.
There's a guy that's arrested and convicted in that book for his thoughts alone, and that's kind of
when at least once a day I tell my best friend we should go burn things down.
Fucking psycho.
Like at least once a day.
Conspiracy to commit arson right there.
Yeah, you're going fucking
exactly.
jail.
But am I actually going to do it? Probably not. I'm really lazy.
No, exactly.
So it's like, maybe not to the same extent of what he was talking about, but everybody has thoughts like that. We've all thought about, like, I'm going to go kill that fucking guy, or...
Yeah, absolutely right.
Right? You guys got to be careful around me. I'll burn your fucking house down. But
please do. My fucking roof is leaking right now.
I need the insurance money, please.
I'll help you burn the motherfucker.
But, like, yeah, so I watched this documentary about him, and I've heard, like, a little bit about him, and it was always such an interesting case, because, like, his whole life was turned upside down.
It fucking was, to say the least.
Yeah, right.
And he never hurt anybody. He didn't even try to.
No.
He just, like, sat there and oh, God. He's just sitting there, like, jacking off at his computer, like everybody who listens to your podcast is probably doing right now.
You can say jack off
right
on
now.
the Rob and I'm not jacking off because the cat is being very affectionate on my right leg, but
I'm
Rob
going at it
indeed,
feverishly right now.
He's jacking it hard.
Well, I know Canadians get you guys off.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
Isn't Pamela Anderson from Canada?
It's the accent.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
I think she may have been originally.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you guys really eat French fries and gravy? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, but they put cheese in them. Are you talking about poutine?
What the
Is that what poutine is?
So it's fries.
I always pronounced it poutine.
No, I know it's poutine, but
it's fries with Quebec cheese curds and gravy, and it is fucking delicious.
I do enjoy some cheese curds.
Poutine.
They're really
sounds like a code name for like pussy.
Pootang. Poontang.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Give me some of that poutine.
Poutine is life.
Like what's something super American? Like chili cheese dogs. Whenever.
Yeah, you can get those here.
You can.
Yep.
Okay.
Around these parts, we got spaghetti with chili.
Yeah, we got
That's the Ohio thing.
3 ways. You get Cincinnati style spaghetti Cincinnati style chili on top of spaghetti noodles with cheese.
So pretty much it's just sweet chili with like fucking cinnamon in it or something weird. It's wild.
Intriguing.
You know, it's fucking delicious.
Yeah, it's hit or miss.
I'm doing that like weird face thing where like one eyebrow's going up and the other one's looking a little freaked out.
It's delicious, Chris Jan.
Chris Jan. What's another weird thing that we have?
I mean, Buckeyes. We have those. Those are kind of native to this area.
Those are delicious, though.
I don't know if you remember this, but this is not the first time we've talked for the show. And the first time we talked for the show was for a Patreon episode, and you promised to send me some of those.
Buckeyes?
Yeah.
Those are probably I'm gonna ship those in a fucking refrigerator.
Yeah, those will melt like a motherfucker.
We do owe you a care case, but we are the most. I want you to understand something. Like, women have their shit together and they do stuff. There's as far as people in the world that don't have their shit together,
yeah,
I am the absolute worst. There's only one person worse than me that doesn't have their shit together, and it's Rob. But
yeah, we're talking to people who run a podcast and figure out what the fuck we're going to talk about an hour before we're supposed to record it. So that's how we do it.
All I'm saying,
we'll get there.
I just make it look like I'm really together on social media, and I am not.
And Christy is one
I'm
of
just teasing you.
She's one of the chancellors of the Brohio closed group, Butt Chuggers Anonymous, so she should get a fucking Medal of Honor for that.
I have been a moderator in that group for almost as long as the group has existed.
I'm sorry.
Poor thing. Ever since we decided we wanted to stop working in it.
Pretty much.
Fuck this. This is a barn fire.
It's all yours.
I stopped calling you guys and messaging you when I was doing stuff, and I just started doing it.
Thank you for that.
Rob don't care.
No, we don't give a fuck. Do what you want.
We don't. Then we get drunk hillbillies sometime. Like, I've been in your goddamn closed group for fucking 6 months, and I just got kicked out for making a black joke. I'm like, well, you can't make racist jokes, you fuck.
I mean, it's like it's literally it's just named. This is the group formerly that's ours. You know what I mean? It's like we don't have any fucking control.
It's okay to make jokes.
Yeah.
It's when you're getting like personal with people that we really don't like that.
I don't like to be called
joking
fat.
Around, and we try to avoid people who are posting things just to start fights. But like, it's one thing to make a joke. It's another thing to like say to somebody else in the group like, "This is you," or something to that effect. And it's actually a very offensive statement.
You're right. People are the fucking worst.
They are.
Man.
So we try to get rid of that. And we also get a lot of whiny friends who don't like when we mute them.
That's the best.
It's just so fucking hard to be like a decent human being, guys.
I'm pretty sure I've got several unread messages in my spam that I
unfortunately
that I'm like, you know what? Sorry.
Yeah.
We have a moderator chat, and I only go in it when somebody's messaging me because I'm like, okay, who banned this guy and why?
Yeah. Well, back to the task at hand here.
Yes, sorry.
We are very happy that you picked this topic because I don't know how much justice we would have done it without talking to him, but I think it's incredible that he said, sure, let's talk tonight, let's do it. So thank you so much for recommending this topic. Is there anything else in the brain of Christy that what's your super fascination when it comes to true crime? Are there any cases that you've probably heard them 1,000 times, but is there anything that you just you'll never get over, and you're just constantly keeping your eye open on this certain topic?
Well, like everybody has like a few cases that kind of stick with them.
Sure.
Like, my favorite serial killer is Dahmer. I don't know why.
Okay.
I find him fascinating.
Yeah.
The
fucking weirdo is what he was.
Yeah. I've recently started listening to a podcast about Israel Keys.
Okay.
And he's a really interesting serial killer. And then the Matthew Shepard murder is probably the most upsetting thing.
I remember watching MTV made a movie.
Yeah.
An MTV movie back in the day about that, and I remember watching that whenever it happened. That was horrible.
Who's Matthew Shepard?
He was
Matthew Shepard was a gay guy.
He was killed
in the late 90s who was attacked by some guys for being gay, and they drove him out of the city that they lived in, and they beat him and tied him to a fence and left him there, and he died.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
And it's really interesting because it was one of the first cases where somebody was murdered for being gay that got national attention.
Oh, man.
Like, everybody was talking about it, and for kind of the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was young, he was white, he was attractive. Like, that kind of stuff probably came into play with why it became such a big deal.
Right.
But it's a very interesting story because it's still very relevant even now, and it's almost 25 years later.
Yeah, it is, especially now. There's just sometimes I feel like we make steps as far as equality and I guess in that aspect of life, but then I see certain things happen. I see the way people respond to things. I'm like, man, like it feels like we're still living in the 1960s. The way they.
Well, to be fair, it sounds like that's what Trump's trying to do.
Well, it depends on who you ask. I mean, he did walk up in North Korea the other day, so he's making some kind of progress.
But it's one of those things where I think all we can do is hope that each generation can be better.
Yeah, that's what I try and teach my kids.
I feel like our generation is a bit more understanding than, say, our parents' generation was. And we're just kind of carrying that forward, and it's becoming more and more acceptable. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, who cares?
Yeah, you're right.
It don't affect you, just fucking who cares?
No, it doesn't. It has, like, nothing to do with me.
Well, whoever's genitals is in whoever's mouth has nothing, unless, it's in your mouth, but still. it has no bearing on your life whatsoever.
Yeah.
Let people do what they want.
And like, if people are happy and in love and doing all that cutesy love shit, like, they're not hurting anyone.
No. I mean,
if anything,
anal sex does hurt the first time, so I don't know who you're trying to say. No one's getting hurt.
It hurts every time.
Okay. Well, it depends on... never mind, but...
It needs to be done correctly. You guys need more practice.
Yeah, you got to put a helmet on and do a fucking running start. That's the best. That's the way to make it not hurt.
I'm going in dry.
Like,
oh, no, don't do that.
Do you guys know anything about Israel Keys?
I know the name. I don't...
So,
off the top of my head, I don't remember what the case is, though.
He was a really interesting guy. He was an American serial killer, and he went around and buried these kill kits all over the U.S. And then whenever he was in the area, he'd go dig them up and go kill some random people.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And so, it's just, the whole thing is just kind of, weird.
It's like geocaching. I love that.
We got to be the best at something. I mean,
killing people.
Crafting serial killers is, hey, right up our alley.
It's just a weirdly fascinating case, but
there's
a new show that I've been listening to. I'll get the name of it, that came out, and it's just about him.
Okay.
Albert Fish is always my favorite because he likes sticking needles in his dick. Any guy that likes doing that, I'm down with.
No.
True Crime Bullshit is the name of the show.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that before.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting, and then I'll listen to any podcast that does a Dahmer episode, even if that's the only episode I listen to. I don't know why.
There's definitely a lot to learn about that dickhead.
Well, there was actually a really interesting episode done by
the Brohio podcast. Yes,
I have listened to the Brohio podcast of it. It was. Oh, I need to find out the name of that show. Is it this one? Yeah, it was Cold Case Murder Mysteries.
Okay.
and they did a 2-part series, and they got pretty deep into the like psychology behind it.
Okay.
And they talked a lot about like why his parents were incompatible and how the incompatibilities in their personality were all things that ended up in his personality. And like it was just really interesting for anybody who likes that kind of detail.
I did learn that the psychiatrist or the psychologist, whatever, the profiler that sat down with Gil Valle also did an interview with Dahmer as well in this, and I'm looking at this article and then watching the video, and the psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't know what he was, he said, Gil Valle is not dangerous to the public. He said, Dahmer, that guy was a fucking Fruit Loop. He was where he belonged.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like Gil, he had nothing, like zero desire to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Like he never
hurt his wiener. That's all he wanted to do.
Yeah. But
Eat
like
it
he
up.
never took any steps to like hurt anybody.
Right.
So that's where like you see like this difference. But they also talk about like with Dahmer, the length of time between like his first murder and his second was like 10 years or something.
Oh wow.
And so they were talking a lot about how he was like kind of like fighting against himself, and it was really interesting.
Yeah. Well.
So, but it's interesting to compare stuff like that too, because again, like you look at Gil and like he never hurt anybody, but it's that question of like, what if he did?
Yeah, he would have definitely. I mean, if the shit was real, then someone was getting fucked up for sure.
Well, and like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Because we also talk about how a lot of people who commit crimes escalate their crimes.
Yeah.
So, is it possible that he was just in the beginning? Or is it possible that he was able to satisfy his needs simply through conversation?
That's some heavy shit.
Right? You didn't expect that from me, did you?
It's hard to say. I mean, he's out and he's living his life, and it's been years and nothing's happening. So I think
I legitimately think that he is not a murderer. At all.
Yeah, no. I think after talking to him, he's good to go. He's just bait into some cool stuff. I'd like to check it out.
Right. He's just let the man have his kink.
Yeah.
But that is that's the big question with his case, and one of the reasons why I think his case has garnered so much attention and why it's so interesting is like it's this whole concept of like the what if, and like he was originally charged and convicted, but then his conviction was overturned.
Yeah.
And like in the meantime, like I don't know that he sees his daughter anymore.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Hasn't seen her since the day she left.
And like that's incredibly sad.
It is.
And the thing is, like, I don't think he would have ever done anything to hurt his wife or his daughter.
No. I mean, some women believe that this, by him doing what, I mean, shouldn't say women, some men and women believe that by him doing what he did was an act of betrayal and enough alone to hurt his spouse. But as far as physically hurting someone, I don't think he would.
Well, here's the thing. And I mean, I'm a little bit weird.
You don't fucking say.
But like, my husband wants to look at porn. You go, have fun. I don't care.
You go have fun.
You enjoy titties. Titties are fab.
Yeah, they are.
Like it's just internet fantasy. It's nothing.
Yeah.
He's like not talking to women, trying to build a relationship with them so that he can eventually go have sex with them. Like he wasn't even doing that. I mean, I think like coming across something like that, especially as his wife, and the fact that it did include her in it, might be the hardest part.
Yeah, it'd be hard for her to swallow coming across that.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective, but I strongly feel for a guy who legitimately, in the eyes of the law, did not commit any sort of crime, and he has no access to his child, and I'm sure he loved his daughter.
He did. And
I'm sure he still does.
I did not dig at that part because I know that's probably hard, unspeakable.
Well, that's one of those things that it's more up to him to talk about.
Yeah.
If he wanted for people to bring up with him. But it's one of the things that I found the most heartbreaking about it is he's lost everyone, basically, except for his parents.
He said a lot of friends stuck by him through all of it. They were kind of there before, during, and after, and he said You know, his friends,
Well, that's good.
they bust his balls about it, which I think would be kind of fun. But as far
That's
as
good, though,
as far as the
because-
NYPD, his brothers and sisters at the police department, he said they abandoned him immediately, and that was one of the most hurtful things for him. Is that before everything was, you know, the smoke had cleared and everything, these people had already abandoned him and distanced themselves from him.
I can kind of understand that, though, just because of what they do for work.
Yeah.
And when they didn't know, like, the full extent of what had happened.
It's a brotherhood.
It is. We had one of our local cops was charged with child pornography a couple of years ago.
Kill
and
him.
I think
Fuck him.
I think that was kind of a similar thing.
Yeah.
I don't know enough detail to say what it was, like what he had.
Rob said, "Fuck him."
Because, well, I know, but the thing is, like, don't ever look at pictures of kids. Don't.
No.
But I do think there's a difference between a guy chatting up like a 16-year-old online and she sends a picture of her boobs versus like little kids. Don't chat up 16-year-old girls online. Don't do it.
No.
But I do think like it's a different. So I don't really know what happened, so I can't really say if he was like a super piece of shit or not, or if he was just chatting up like teens.
Sure.
But I do think he probably went through something very similar where the rest of the police officers were like, yeah, no, we don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Drown him in maple syrup.
That would be a not bad way to go. It would be delicious. And it would probably kill you really fast because you cannot breathe that shit in.
I don't know. Rob and I are scientists. We might try it after we get off the air tonight.
Do you still have the one I sent you, or did you eat it?
The kids hated it. I ate it pretty fast, though. Just to be honest, they're so.
The kids hated it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're like the kids. You know, they're where's the Aunt Jemima shit? Like they like the what is it? Well, high fructose corn syrup.
16 pounds of sugar.
Yeah, that's what.
My daughter loves the real maple syrup. She likes to dip her pancakes and her waffles. She likes it if you cut them into like finger shapes, and then she dips them in her syrup.
Sure, it's fucking right up my alley.
She's a funny kid.
Kids are the absolute best. My wife put this on Facebook a little bit ago, but tonight at dinner, my youngest daughter was sitting next to me, and she had hot dogs and I don't know something else, but I had steak, and I was like,
"This is a good story."
Paisley, you want some snake? You want some steak? And Paisley's like, "Oh, snake!" She started screaming like, "Snake!" There's a real snake. I'm like, "No, steak, silly!" And I cut off a piece and I put it in front of her. I'm like, "It's like a burger. Just take it. It's like a burger." And she went, "Snake!" And then she picked it up and she put it in my face and she went, like started making a hiss. I'm like, "God damn it, you're so funny, but
she's so wild."
Goofball.
She's wild.
My daughter slept over at my dad's house on Friday, and for supper she told him she wanted hot dogs and pancakes.
Delicious.
Perfect combination.
Right? I'm like, this is my kid.
They put a layer of hot dogs in between my pancakes.
Yes. Well, Christy,
Those are probably... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say thanks so much for coming on and doing the interview with us, and thanks for the awesome topic and all the wonderful things you've done for us over the past couple years and your dedication to Brohio.
Brohio Nation, my friend.
Brohio Nation. We
I'm really excited to listen to the episode and hear your guys' interview with Gil and kind of hear your take on the whole case. I know it's a little bit different than what you guys normally cover, and I'm glad you guys picked this one because I think it's a really interesting story, and I hope the rest of Brohio thinks so too.
Well, yeah, we might circle back to the Maple Syrup Bandits as well. You never know. So
Sticky Bandits.
To. It's just so funny.
It's right up our alley.
Right up
I'll
our ass.
co-host that episode.
Well, happy Canada Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You don't get too drunk. I know it's only like 1 o'clock in the afternoon there, but...
yeah. Happy America Day in a few days for you guys.
Oh, yeah, I gotta fucking work. I don't care what happens, so...
I don't. I'm getting fucking shit-faced and drowning in a pool. I can't wait.
Awesome.
All right, have a good night, Christy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
That's Christian.
Second interview of the episode.
Christian. And this is really the end. This is really, really the end now. So we're going to go record the episode.
All right, thank you, guys.
Hopefully not blow through it like it's nothing.
I hope not.
Fuck. Well,
all right.